what's up? It's your host, Torry, and who is ready to be petty? Welcome back to a brand new episode. Nick is here, and we're going to talk all about our favorite Disney Channel era. And I test Nick on some Torry slang, which I thought was really fun. I think that was something that I was known for in like high school and uni, just having like wild abbreviations and slang that people would want to copy. I'm just kidding. No one wanted to copy it. But I feel like as I'm getting older, it's just kind of like not used as much because I work at like an office and stuff and I'm trying to be a professional. So it's fun to kind of lean back into that. As I've mentioned 1,000 trillion times, and I swear to God, this is the last one, it is almost RTBP's 2-year anniversary. I'm going to drop that episode on Halloween. If you have a favorite moment or bit or story that I've told on the podcast in the past 2 years, DM me and I will include it in this special clip show that I'm creating. And if you don't know what a clip show is, even though it's pretty self-explanatory, I'm basically just going to include some fun clips and discuss, I don't know, and reflect on them because you know this podcast is all about reflection. Anyways, it's a really fun episode, and without further ado, here's my conversation with Nick. And we're back with a very special guest. Nick is here. Nick, how are you?
I am so excited to be back. I wasn't kicked off the podcast for ranting about cheese last time. I feel like that just earned me a spot back sooner than I deserved. I was also listening to your last few podcasts because I become like a podcast stan since the last time I was here. And the last podcast I listened to, you had Laguna Biatch, and she has like 60,000 followers. So you just got like somebody big, and now it's like, here's my friend who has no credibility. Nick is back. I love it. I love following that up.
Yes. Oh my God. That's such a good point. No, all guests are created equal. But no, I know. Like, I also was like, wow, this is like such a big score. And then like...
And then Nick is coming.
No, but like, I do get it. It's like, oh, it's my friends that have like a couple hundred followers and stuff. But that's okay because everyone brings something special to each podcast.
Yes, and I bring no knowledge of Laguna Beach, but I do bring knowledge of what we're talking about today.
Good. Just to like check in, how have you been doing since we last recorded?
Well, so we were just talking about this, and it's been so, it's been so short, but it feels like it's been so long because that was like end of July, early August, and now we're in like the end of October. And here in the States, like COVID is obviously spiking again, and as a teacher, like that's something that's like constantly on my mind. And I'm like so sick and tired of being on Zoom every day. So my school is both remote and in person. And I feel like comfortable with it now, but it genuinely is just like exhausting. So I was like, I need to take like a step back from just like being involved with like the internet. So I feel like I like went ghost for like the entire month of August to get ready for school. And as like a social studies teacher and the election coming up in like less than 2 weeks, it's really exhausting because everybody wants to like just talk to me about it. And I have to teach it to my students for like 3 hours of the day. So by the time I go lunch with my like fellow teachers or I come home and like my friends or my parents want to talk about it, I'm just like spent. And I know it's not something that we can afford to be like not wanting to talk about, but it's just like draining on every level to be like, I have to rehash like this again. So I'm very glad to be here today to talk about like non-important stuff. It's been like the highlight of my week. I have 2 non-alcoholic beverages, I promise, for anybody who listens. It's not 3:30 on a Friday, and we're just here to chat.
Yes, I'm so excited to go back to our first episode that we recorded together. Have you been listening to Folklore more now that it's kind of fall season?
So I had listened to it, I think, like a ton in early September when I was like driving back to school. I feel like I listened to it a lot more, obviously a lot more after we podcasted, but at a much like higher ratio, even though when we did the first time. But I feel like I've fallen off as of late, and I've kind of returned to like all too well Taylor Swift because I can just always go for that in the fall time, and kind of rediscovering some of like her other like tracks that I didn't pay attention to the first time. So like Afterglow on Lover, I've been like jamming to, and even I think it's called like Last Kiss, the one she wrote about Joe Jonas because I didn't realize it was about him. But yeah, I think it's still equally as great of an album, but trying some different, obviously different music terrain, different Taylor Swift terrain, and I'm sure I'll come back to it soon enough.
Totally. Yeah, not that I didn't listen to it, but I was like, I'll revisit this in the fall because, yeah, like I mentioned a million times on the podcast, I was just too much in like a fun, like boppy summer mood. And yeah, now I'm like depressed and living amongst like literally the drop of her album. So yeah, I've been really listening to it a lot as of
And I
late.
like listening to it kind of even after the fact now that I'm in like a different headspace because I've been enjoying a lot of songs like more like the first time we talked. I think we both kind of like crapped on Hoax a bit, but I actually like vibe with Hoax now. I'm like, this is actually a pretty good like album ending track, and I don't know if that's like a hot take now or if it's aged well. And the bonus track, The Lakes, obviously when that came out, I like immediately like Snapchatted you or something, and I was like, I listen to this. I like Lakes too. So Epiphany and Seven still haven't grown on me, but all the other tracks I still I get on with.
Totally. I do think we got a lot of flack for hating on Hoax, which is like so ridiculous, but it's still not a top one for me. So
Well,
whatever.
I grew and changed, so don't hate on me.
Yeah, yeah. So today we're going to be talking about a lot of like teen pop star news. We got a request to talk about the Disney Channel and kind of some drama that's been going on there. So I'm very excited to do that. I really wanted to talk about like teenagers and like Gen Z just like living their lives right now because I'm constantly annoyed by them or in awe or scared. I don't know. I haven't decided.
Well, when you work with them every day, when I saw that we were going to be talking about Gen Zers, I was like, yes, I have. This, I am an expert on something. This is why I'm here.
True, true. Yeah, I cannot wait to get your insights. And then we're also going to talk about some slang that I use because as Nick alluded to, he's been listening to a lot of the pod. And there was one word in one episode that I used that really threw him for a loop.
I was driving in my car and I literally had to pull over onto the side of the road and immediately stop. Obviously stop what I'm doing so I can text and drive, but then text Torry and be like, "You did not just use Peppy Mo as a replacement for Peppermint Mocha." But she just said it sarcastically. She's like, "I love the Peppy Mo." I was like, "Oh, here we go."
I thought that was a universal term.
And then Tori fact checked with an ex Starbucks barista, and he didn't even know what she was talking about. So I claim victory.
Yeah, which is like honestly fair because I also tweeted at Starbucks, the US and Canadian Twitter accounts, and no one got back to me. So
Like
maybe I'll try again.
Our DM.
Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? So, as I mentioned before, there's been a lot of teen pop star news. Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande just came out with 2 new songs. Have you listened to Lonely and Positions?
So I listened to Lonely. I don't even know when it dropped. I think it's probably last Friday on like my way to work. It's very odd. And then I tried to like play it again last week in the car when I had like a friend in the car, and they asked me to turn it off.
Oh my god.
And yes, I listened to Positions probably like on my way to work this morning, and then I listened to it again on my way home because I was like, I need to like check that like mood again. Yeah, and I have thoughts I'm ready to share.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Lonely with Justin Bieber, like he also performed on SNL. He did a music video with Jacob Tremblay, fellow Canadian, like another child actor.
I literally have never heard of this man before, and then Justin Bieber was either on like Twitter or Instagram, like thanking him for being a part of this journey, and I was like,
oh, that's
who?
wild. He was in that really famous like Oscar nominated video with movie with Brie Larson.
I don't know who Brie Larson.
Oh my god, the new Marvel.
Oh,
yes.
Captain Marvel.
Yes,
Wait,
yes. She was in No, she was in a movie with Jacob Tremblay. When
Oh, he
Jacob,
acts?
yes, he's an actor.
Oh, I thought he was like, like this generation's like dance mom standout child. Like I just
Oh,
didn't understand the
wild.
connection because I know that the chick from Dance Moms like does Sia's stuff, so I figured he was just like
Yes, Maddie Ziegler.
Justin Bieber's version.
Oh my god, that is so funny. No, he's like a well-known actor. He like attends like all the red carpets and stuff because he was in a really heavy movie with Brie Larson where he was like kidnapped.
Good for the youth.
Yeah, honestly, it's a song that like I really appreciated from Justin, but like I won't listen to like on my own. Like it was good to watch the music video and like I think it's really him like opening up and his first time that he kind of apologized for being a dick for like those 5 years.
Did he apologize though? Because he kind of was like, "Look, I know I was like sick." I don't think he was talking about like actually being like physically sick, just like mentally wasn't in the right place. But then he was like, nobody checked on me because I was like in the spotlight and I was lonely. So it was kind of like fair to not like he shouldn't have to apologize for it, but it was kind of like a bit half-assed.
Totally. And it wasn't believable. And it was just kind of like, okay, like this is what celebs always do when they have like either like a snafu or like a ring of streak of bad behavior. But now I feel with the release of this song, it is like more, I don't know, vulnerable or like I just believe that he was struggling more, which you shouldn't have to like second guessing if someone is struggling is like a gross thing that I feel like people do a lot, but
Oh, especially with celebrities. Absolutely.
totally.
Because people are always like, oh, they're just covering or making excuses for their bad behavior. Like, I make excuses for my bad behavior all the time and nobody checks me on it.
Yeah, honestly. Me too.
But I will say I liked it from like a Justin Bieber's like he's very introspective on it, and I feel like Justin Bieber's best work, if you go back to like 2014, I don't know what the album is called, but like songs like "Sorry" or "Love Yourself," those are very introspective songs, and that's where I feel like he constantly hits the mark. I don't like Justin Bieber's work when, and this is such a dated reference, but when he's like, "If I was your boyfriend, I never let you go," or just like the works where he's like trying to like be like a player or something. I don't know how to like phrase it, but I like Justin Bieber on this type of like song arrangement than I do on his like more commercial pop.
And usually the commercial poppy stuff is like when he's being like douchey.
Mm-hmm.
I literally remember, and I think we're going down a long
Rabbit hole.
tangent as per
A tangent
usual.
with me and you?
Yeah, no way.
Who would have thought?
But like I feel like when he was becoming famous and like super famous, I was like, he's never gonna be one of those douchey pop stars because of like his upbringing and his Canadian roots and stuff like that. And then he was like awful. But yeah, I'm just happy to see him back.
Here's my two petty pieces on the song because there are some. One, I hate when the song get introduced and it's like Justin Bieber, it's Bieber featuring Benny Blanco. And I'm like, do we really need to introduce like Benny Blanco? Like, did he just create the background music? Like, I don't need like a 2020 David Guetta. Like, just be like, it's Justin Bieber's song, and then we can credit Benny Blanco on like the producing track or if it wins a Grammy. Like, he doesn't need to be produced or like shouted out now from the hilltops on the radio. Um, because like again, what did you do? And then the other issue I have with it is like the background track isn't really there at all. It's very acoustic feeling, which is again why Benny Blanco shouldn't get credit for this because he literally like did the bare fucking minimum and is getting credit. Like I want credit when I do that. I want other people to get credit when they do that. I think that whoever is like in production here, maybe it's like Scooter Braun or whatever the group is. I think they also have like an affiliation with Mason Ramsey, the Walmart yodel child, because when they bring in the yodeling on wait, like it's not necessary, Justin. Like you don't need to be so like really. Did anybody else notice that it's misplaced in the song and it's not necessary? It's like why are we randomly like putting like four consonants of O's in the middle of this word?
Yes. I weirdly agree with that. I also weirdly think that didn't they sign him? Like, I think that's
They did.
actually
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
yes.
Like, I think like that Scooter Braun legitimately signed Mason Ramsey, who was whatever in Walmart, and I think like they're trying to like be like, oh, you remember when the American public loved that a year and a half ago? Well, let's bring it back.
Oh my
Like,
God. This is such a wild conspiracy theory, but I'm actually like on board with it.
other people have to have noticed this. He doesn't like yodel or elongate words anywhere else in the song other than "Lonely," and I get that like "Lonely" is the like title of the song, so you want to make it stand out. But why are we on this like no background like bass track and suddenly he's like gurgling in his voice?
Yeah. No, that's really, really interesting. I haven't seen on the internet, and I'm always on the internet, any notes about that. So like you need
Maybe
to
I
break
should bring
that
it up. That's
news.
when I get my
Yes.
followers and I'll have some clout.
100%. Yes. And then next time I'll be like begging you to come onto the podcast and you'll like turn me down or something.
But yes, I think there's a Mason Ramsey connect here because didn't Justin Bieber like feature on Little Nas's X song "Old Town Road" with Mason Ramsey?
Right, like they did a remix of
Yes.
it. Yes.
And I swear there's pictures out there of like Mason Ramsey and Justin Bieber. And if we're talking about Justin Bieber's growing up roots when he got discovered on YouTube, like Mason Ramsey could be like a little version of Justin Bieber without the sex appeal.
Zero sex appeal. Oh
Well,
my God.
no like 12-year-old human should have the sex appeal, but like the 12-year-olds who were looking at Justin Bieber as a 12-year-old like saw that in him. I don't think there's any 12-year-old that looks at Mason Ramsey and sees the same thing.
Yes, and I just want to clarify that is
That's what
exactly
I
what I
mean.
meant.
Yes.
Yeah, like I just want to put it on the record before I get canceled
Marie and
that
I would like to triple down on that.
yeah. Oh my goodness. And then Positions came out and I'm just like I'm immediately obsessed.
Oh, okay.
You're
I feel
not?
like it was a bit lazy of her. I would like to hear your point first, though.
It's just a bop. I think that you and I look at music different. I think like you care about the quality and I'm like, am I having a good time? Like,
So I do agree with that because Ariana Grande, all of her background tracks are fire. Like, so when we were just shitting on Justin Bieber's background track, I have no issues with Ariana Grande. It's very fun. And I was like, you can't see me dancing right now, but I was like dancing to it like in my car. But like lyrically, I don't know.
yeah,
I have to
I get
get you
that.
my position for you. It didn't even use her signature. Yeah. Like it wasn't like any of that like diva like pump up shit. It was kind of like I'm at home doing this and then we're upstairs doing that.
I don't know. It's fun. So I feel like that's why I like it. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, is it, she has really, really deep songs. Like, we always talk about Ghostin' in our group chat, but it's like she has really, really like lyrically strong songs. But like, I don't need that for a pop song.
And that's part of why like I'm okay with it. I think a lot of these pop songs that don't have meaning though, that are like quality songs are kind of lost on like the awe that is 2020 because I can't go like out to like a bar or like a club and like hear the music and kind of like feel it in the moment. Whereas like a lot of those songs is like when I'm feeling it. So like listening to it by myself in the car, and I'm not the intended audience for this Positions by Ariana Grande song. Let me put that out there. So it should not matter in any bit how I feel about it. And I do like it better than I like "Lonely" by Justin Bieber. It's just like the type of work that I expect from Ariana Grande. I was hoping higher quality like lyrics and higher quality and just like range of voice. It was very kind of just like let me just go through the motions and then get like $1 billion.
Yeah, like when there's a documentary about her life coming out, like we're not gonna like be discussing this
Yeah,
song as like a pivotal moment in her career.
it's a very like no tears left to cry in my opinion.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. I could see
And I
that.
will say on the subject of ghosting before we move on, I didn't actually know what that song was about recently. So my sister is like an Ariana Grande stan, so she might come like bursting in my room right now to like kick me in the face. But we were driving in the car together a few weeks. Like I feel like I live my life in my car. Um,
Honestly.
we were driving in the car 2 weeks ago, and she's like, "Can you put on like some Ariana Grande?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, but let me play some like tracks that like we don't always listen to, so I don't need like Seven Rings again, even though that's obviously a bop." So I was like, "Okay, let me put on," and I was like scrolling through her work, and I was like, I like Sweetener, so let's do Better Off. And then I put on Ghostin' from Thanks You Next, and my sister was like, "You put on her like two saddest songs. Are you okay?" I was like, "I didn't know. I thought Ghostin' was gonna be her like leaving some man on red."
Yeah, no, it is about the death of her ex-boyfriend. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, that's I don't want to say funny after what we just discussed, but it's kind of funny. And that's why, like, it's such a personal song. But I don't know. We also, I feel like, need some lightness in our lives. And this song is that.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't dislike it. Like I like it. I'm sure I will listen to it like probably like 30 more times. But it's just not what I was hoping. So I hope that her album that I think she's putting out next week has a lot more of those like top notch like banger songs rather than like casually like let me like dance it by myself in the car songs.
Yes, I am hoping for that as well. So I wanted to talk about a bunch of things. I could talk about this for hours. Did you know that Zoey 101 is doing like a little reunion this weekend?
I have been blueballed by Zoey 101 enough times to not believe any shit that they put out there. Now I know they're doing some Zoom call, right? Is it a Zoom call?
Yeah.
Everything today is like Zoom call, Zoom call. That's what we're doing this year. Oh, we want to make money. Zoom call. Like the cast of Friends, honestly, should do a Zoom call reunion at this point and just to mail it in. But Zoey
Yes.
101, they're hyping up this reunion thing. I don't even know if the entire cast is going.
No.
And I'm old enough to remember like 4 years ago when they put that like teaser, like 10-minute video out about the time capsule, and they couldn't even get Jamie Lynn Spears to come back and film a set. Like, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm still here waiting for what's in the time capsule.
I feel like all of these shows we get like little tidbits every once in a while. Like for example, Miley Cyrus in a recent interview just said like, should I do a Hannah Montana reboot? And we had the Lizzie McGuire reboot. Like I just feel like
Another thing we got blue balled on.
yes. Well,
Well,
it's
not we,
just
but
yeah.
the female equivalent of blue ball.
Totally. Like it's just I don't know, people really are leaning into the nostalgia, but the Zoe 101 thing is so weird because you're right. It's a Zoom call. It's like 5 members of the cast and then a bunch of TikTokers.
Yes, that's what I was like. Wait, okay, so I saw Charlie. I don't know how to pronounce it. D'Amelio.
D'Amelio.
And I don't know about Canada, but like New England has these like has Dunkin' Donuts, which is obviously huge, and she has a signature drink at Dunkin' Donuts called the Charlie. So I was like, coasting through the drive-through one day, and I was placed my order because I'm basically an addict, and I was like, what is this Charlie thing? I was like, how does this girl? I felt it was like a moment of like being old smacking me in the face, and I'm not even that old. I'm 23. So if anything, like my parents probably would expect me to know who this girl is. So I had to ask like my students. I was like, "Do you guys know who this like Charlie girl is?" And they were like, "Yeah, she's like a famous dancer on TikTok," and like everyone knew her. I was like, "Oh, shit."
She is like fully in the zeitgeist. She, I believe, is still the most followed TikToker in the world. There's another TikToker that's like really coming up the ranks, like kind of almost, I don't know, maybe might surpass her.
Why do they invite these people who clearly like started Disney Channel when it was like Shake It Off? Like they didn't get to
Ugh.
experience. And I know Zoe 101 was on Nickelodeon, so maybe they
Yes.
watched the Nickelodeon equivalent to trash TV. But
No.
like they didn't get to experience Zoe 101 from the start. I remember watching that first episode and them decorating the urinal. Like, do you have that moment in your life etched in your brain? Because you don't deserve to be on that call when me and definitely like 100,000 people more like stan of Zoe 1 than me deserve to be on that call.
1,000%. And like, that's why I have a bone to pick with this because they are like currently 14 and like 15 and 16, all these TikTokers.
Yeah,
And it's like, where like they weren't even fucking born when half this shit was coming out. It's
we
just, I
got
don't know.
robbed.
And like, they don't care. It's just like a big opportunity or whatever.
And I don't want a Zoom call. Give me like a movie. Give me like actual enjoyable content. I don't. This is actually another bone I have to pick, and this isn't exactly at Zoe 101. It's with like a lot of different kind of like one-hit wonders in terms of like, they made one movie and they were a pretty big star on it or people like them. And don't come for me, Mariah Carey fans, but it's almost like if Mariah Carey had no other hit other than All I Want for Christmas Is You, and then every year she like rolled up and was like, I'm here, which she does, but like she has talent to back it up. So it's like when Meredith from The Parent Trap like was huge on Twitter for a bit because all she was doing was referencing like Parent Trap. It's like, look, like you're funny, one joke one time is good, but do not try to survive on this fame. And it's like Jamie Lynn Spears, where have you been for the last 14 years of my life? You don't just get to come on Zoom and make money.
Oh my God, that is such a good point. And every single day, I swear to God, I debate this with myself about like, should they lean into it and lean out? And Kelly from Laguna Beach and I were talking about this, about how most of the Laguna Beach season 1 cast who are actually just posted their reunion like an hour ago. But why are they all of a sudden leaning back into like the one thing that made them famous, which is these other people? Like even on TikTok, like all these Nickelodeon stars and Disney Channel stars are reuniting for like TikTok. Like there was Kim Possible, Kyle, like
XY.
Corey,
Corey in the house. Oh, Kyle Massey.
Kyle Massey
Not
from
Kyle
Corey.
XY. He has a belly button.
Yeah.
Kyle Massey, yeah. Raven Swan's brother. Well, that's a Raven.
Yes, exactly. And then the other girl from That's So Raven, Chelsea. But then I'm also like, if that's what made you famous, and as a person who like low key would also like to be famous, like I would do the same. So I have this back and forth with myself like every day.
So I have no issue with people leaning into it because like genuinely, like, yeah, like I want you to acknowledge your roots. Like I kind of get mad when Zac Efron like shrugs off High School Musical because it's like, dude, you would not be anywhere close to who you are right now without High School Musical. Own it. I hate when they come back and they half-ass it. So like if you're going to do something like with a Zoey 101 reunion, like I want that. I am not okay with a crumb. Like you're not gonna linger me on like a little mouse who's gonna crawl from crumb to crumb to crumb to crumb to crumb. I want the giant ass block of cheese and I want it now. And if you give it to me once, I don't need it again. So lean in once, give it your full effort, and then we can move on from you. And it's like they're like, let's give them surface level shit because then they're okay, and then they'll want to come back in a few years. Again, it's like the cast of Friends. Give me a full, proper fucking reunion. Everybody will love it. It will actually be good content, and we can move on. I don't want like a quick little soundbite that's on Twitter for a few months, and then we talk about Friends again.
That's a really good point, and I didn't even think about it in like marketing terms. Like if they just give it to us, does it just kind of go away? Whereas if they just lead us on, we talk about it forever. But I think about the Gilmore Girls reunion, which wasn't even that good, or like the Netflix series or whatever. Like the actual content wasn't so good, but at least they like did a fulsome, like full on reboot. And it wasn't something half-assed where 6 out of 10 of the cast members are there. And
you don't even get the good
shitty.
ones.
Totally. I also thought Girl Meets World, the Boy Meets World spinoff, speaking of Disney Channel shows, was another way that they did it really well.
So that's doing it right. And I didn't watch. I was actually never a Boy Meets World fan, but I was never into Boy Meets World. But when Girl Meets World came on, I was like, look, like I appreciate the show for doing a comeback right, and I don't care if it's not what you want it to be. And that's kind of why I do appreciate like Lizzie McGuire, like kind of like, sticking for what they believe in and saying, I'm not coming back and doing a show that's garbage. Like I want it to be the proper show. And I don't mind, like I think early in quarantine, Miley Cyrus did like a Instagram live with Emily Osment, maybe. And I don't mind that. I don't mind when Ariana Grande, I think, did Instagram live with the girl Jade from Victorious and they sang it together because like you're not trying to like be something it's not. It's like, look, this might be something that cheers people up, but we're gonna move on after it. And I appreciate that rather than like hyping something and then just for the sake of being like, hello, remember us.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. What were some of your other favorite Disney Channel TV shows?
So I've been thinking about this, and I can't remember exactly what the first show on Disney Channel I watched was. I missed the boat on Even Stevens because I'm kind of young.
Yes, you did.
But I love the Even Stevens movie because it's very Survivor, and I'm a Survivor stan. I think the first big show I got into was like Sweet Life on Deck. Oh no, sorry, not, oh God, no, I'm not that young.
I was
The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Ooh. um,
there is a big difference.
yes, there is. No, there is a huge difference. Ashley Tisdale was my person, so she was erased on Deck. And the end of Lizzie McGuire and the start of Hannah Montana. I think the last show I watched on Disney Channel that was like during that time span, all the way to complete finish, was Wizards of Waverly Place, which another
Yes.
huge fan. And then I stopped like halfway through. I think like Good Luck Charlie and moved on with my life.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, I'm very similar. Like Lizzie McGuire, That's So Raven, were
That's a Raven
like,
too. Yes.
yeah, Hannah Montana were like the ones that I was like obsessed with. And then I'm a little bit older than you. So yeah, Wizards of Waverly Place I like kind of caught up with. Zoey 101, like we
Yeah.
mentioned.
So did you do Victorious on Disney on Nickelodeon, or was that after you?
That was kind of after me. I did kind of follow some of the plot points, especially because she's named Torry in the show, which like that never happened in
Narcissism jumped out.
yeah. Honestly, but that just never happened. So Tori is not like a weird name by any sorts, but like when I was growing up in the 90s, like it kind of was. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I have a cousin whose name is Tori actually. So that's why when like obviously I first met you, I was like, oh, her name is Tori. Like it was just like an automatic bond that like you probably didn't deserve, but I'm glad it happened.
It always just seemed like, and I know again it's not, but it just didn't seem like, maybe it just wasn't like the popular girl's name or whatever in like TV shows, but yeah, so I was really into that. And I also, just as a pop culture fan, like to revisit this stuff even if I don't watch it. Like I just like to revisit some of like the drama or like stories that came out of it.
I don't think I ever watched like to the end of Victorious. I don't even know if they had like a proper ending,
I
but
don't
my
think they
students
did.
are really into Victorious because it's on Netflix. It's like one of the shows that they watch. So occasionally during like advisory, which is like akin to a homeroom, we'll be like, hey, let's just do like a Netflix like and hangout day, not Netflix and chill day, just Netflix and hangout. And one of the shows they go back to that I like approve of them to watch is Victorious. So I've watched a few episodes here and there a few times over the past like year. It holds up like pretty well. Like it's good. I think the characters on that show are very equal. It's no Drake and Josh by any means, but
Mm.
it's not even like iCarly in my opinion. But the music on it is better than some of the like trash music Disney Channel shows not named Hannah Montana put out. So I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a really good Hannah Montana-esque TV show where it's like the same kind of slapstick humor, like, oh, so like spaghetti falls on that person's head, like, you know, like, or we're gonna do this like funny skit in school and sing a song about it. Like, it was a good follow-up without being like too related.
And Victoria's had like I think it was obviously like a TV show movie. In the movie they had was like pretty good song wise, like and just like arc wise, when she dressed up as like an ugly girl and then like shredded off her fake nose on stage and like shook her hair. Like honestly, I think that's Victoria Justice's like most iconic moment of TV ever.
Totally. And I love following the Victoria Justice versus like Ariana Grande like drama just because obviously Ariana like blew up. She's one
We
of
talked
like,
about her earlier on the podcast. Yeah, she's
yes,
blown up.
she's just like a huge pop star. And then Victoria Justice, who was the star of Victorious, is like fizzled out.
If we're being completely honest, Ariana Grande's on that show is by far the worst. Like
Yeah.
Ariana Grande's character had a spin-off with Sam from iCarly, which I never
Yes.
watched, but they basically ended that show over beef between whoever played Sam from iCarly and Ariana Grande because like the character of Sam, I think, was probably the bigger star going into that show. And Ariana Grande, I think, while filming Stan and Cat, had problem with Iggy Azalea. So she like blew up back in 2014 when this show was filming. And I think there was beef between the two characters because Ariana Grande was like the bigger star, but the other girl was supposed to be like the bigger character on the show.
Yes. Okay. This all makes a lot of sense because she did just surpass every single person on the TV show. Like, even when you were talking about the punk girl who's
Jade
in,
is she's
yes,
on that
the reboot
Netflix
on,
show that's about
yes,
like rich people, I
yes,
think.
it's a CW show
Is it
that's
Legacy?
I think it is
No.
called Legacy. It's a reboot of something.
I think it's like a Spanish show. I actually did watch the first episode of it, and it was just too
Oh, it's Dynasty, not
Dynasty. That's
Legacy.
what it's called. Yes.
Yes. Like, even just her, like, just surpassed their level of fame. And it's just so funny, like, looking at old interviews and stuff where Ariana Grande is, like, not the focus. Like, the focus is on Jeanette McCurdy, which is Sam, or Victoria Justice. And it's just like they're nobodies nowadays.
So I can say this because my last name is Drinkwater. Like I will never become famous because my last name is just like not like appealing. Like really, that I'm sorry, that's the fact. That's why people change their last names to be something like more sophisticated and classy because they want to become famous. McCurdy is not a famous person name like Jeanette. And Jeanette isn't either. I'm
No.
sorry, you were cursed. It's like an honor that you made it as far in life as you did in terms of being famous. Like you probably haven't done anything since then because like Jeanette McCurdy on like a banner in Times Square is not an attractive name to see. Now Ariana Grande, like that sounds like bougie. And I bet you her
Yes.
last name's not even Grande. I bet you she
T.
changed it.
T. Like Katy Perry and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that her real name's like Katie Johnson or something.
Well, that's not an
Like,
attractive name either.
no, but I completely agree. And this is something I've also thought about in depth.
Yeah, okay, so we're on to something here. We're on the same wavelength.
True.
And I actually think it's funny that Ariana Grande was on Nickelodeon because Nickelodeon didn't produce a lot of like giant stars, but I think by and large their content was actually a bit better just because they had less of it. Because Nickelodeon focused a lot on like animated shows, and Disney never really had any of those. Disney had no SpongeBob or no Jimmy Neutron or no Family Odd Parents that were like mainstays of Nickelodeon. But if you look at like the obviously like scripted TV shows with in-person actors. Drake and Josh, people love that shit. iCarly, people love that shit. Also, great spinoff, by the way, of a show. Even though it's not like, a spinoff, I guess, of Drake and Josh, but it is a Miranda Cosgrove's character.
Yes.
Um, in like Victorious and Zoey 101, obviously. Four of those shows are pretty like beast shows where I feel like a lot of the Disney Channel content was hit or miss.
Yes, I completely agree. Like, either blew up and was any, like, High School Musical, Camp Rock, all shows that are still so popular nowadays, but like none of the other ones are.
Like an example of that if we talk about like Camp Rock. So then they tried a spin-off show with both Demi Lovato and the Jonas Brothers. The Jonas Brothers had like Jonas Brothers LA or something. Which what the hell was that?
I
Like Jonas
know.
Brothers, weren't you too good for Disney Channel at that point? Why did you go back and film this obviously terrible show that I don't think lasted more than 2 seasons? And
No.
Demi Lovato, who tried to do like a
Sunny with a Chance.
Sunny with a Chance, but that was like kind of like a ripoff of the Amanda Show on Nickelodeon from years prior. And um Demi Lovato straight up said, like, I'm too big for this show. Peace out, fuckers.
And like, good for her, because I think usually the pinnacle of some people's careers is Disney Channel shows, but like they truly, all of those people that we just named, like, did surpass them.
And Disney Channel has, obviously, Disney Channel has produced a ton of stars. Miley Cyrus, Demi Lovato, Raven Simone, like, those
Selena
are huge
Gomez.
stars to this day. So it's really impressive to see somebody who is so established as like a Hannah Montana, like a Miley, still like crushing it today. Like everything Miley has put out recently, music wise, I've vibed with. She had that cover of "Zombie" by the Cranberries this week, and I was like, she can do no wrong. Like, how do people not like Miley Cyrus? Because she can do every type of music, and she could go back to Hannah Montana, and people would sell out 100,000 person stadiums. I would go see a Hannah Montana reboot like concert if she'd had one.
Same. That is everything that I want in life. Like,
That's
truly.
actually the pinnacle of
Yeah.
like if Miley Cyrus decides to do, I'm going to do a one-time only Hannah Montana world tour. No other nostalgic like show can top it. They really can't. If Miley Cyrus comes back and says, I'm putting the Hannah wig back on, everybody says, oh, let me go get my Hannah Montana notebook. Let
Yeah.
me get my sequins and let's go.
Honestly.
It'll be like that Shania Twain, like, let's go, girls.
Yeah.
That'll be me, like, rolling up to the concert.
Honestly, though, this is so embarrassing that I'm vocalizing this. I still listen to Hannah Montana music on the reg. It is
I
so
actually
fucking
listened to the
good.
Bone Dance today.
Oh my God, that is amazing. I listened to Rockstar like 2 hours ago. Like, it's good.
Rockstar came out when I was in fifth grade, and it was also at the same time when Nickelback came out with their song Rockstar. And I was on like fifth grade yearbook committee. Like four different people submitted Rockstar as their favorite song. So in their yearbook, I thought they were talking about the Hannah Montana song. So in my yearbook to this day, it says favorite song, Rockstar, Hannah Montana. And like three of them were like, I meant Nickelback. And I was
Oh
like, I
my
did
God.
you a service.
That is so funny. I love that story so much. That is so good. Yeah, that is a service. One of the weirdest things that have come out of like this is Harper Finkel from Wizards of Waverly Place being a nurse.
I literally had no idea about that until like you like voiced that. I had no idea. She was a star on that show. Crazy, stupid, funky hat, Keira Knightley, like a star. And now she's like serving people.
Yes. It's just
McCurdy could
interesting.
never.
It's so interesting to me when child stars and teen stars, because that's all I've ever wanted to be, and I've aged out of that.
You haven't because they hire like 25. Like Jason Earls in Hannah Montana.
Oh
Like
my God.
41. You can be a teen star.
Oh my God. How did Jason Earl being like fucking 40 on Hannah Montana not make this episode outline? Oh my God. I remember, okay, that just unlocked memories. I remember being on Facebook. This would have been like what? 2006, 2007, I don't know. I was in Facebook groups like expose. It wasn't we didn't expose people in those days, but like I was in like Facebook groups that were like FYI, Jason Earl is like 36 years old, like we need to do something about this, and I would like join
20 years older than him.
Yes, it was.
Sorry.
Yes, it was so creepy. He was like the same age as fucking Billy Ray Cyrus at the time.
Yes, he was, and he would like jump in his lap.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait,
He acted like a 14-year-old or whatever age he played.
Actually, something wild about that is like, imagine applying and then taking that role. You're like, and you know, you need an in. I get it, you're an actor, you're struggling, you need any role that you can get. But like, where is the line? Where is the line?
Totally. And it was just also weird because, no offense, he's ugly and not good at acting.
Well, that's why he was on a Disney Channel show and he wasn't the star at the age of 36. Like, he wasn't good at acting. That's objective. But I was thinking about this because in the episode outline, we had talked about Life with Derek, and there was that like clearly sexual tension between like stepbrother and sister. Thank God Hannah Montana didn't have that route, because it would have been doubly uncomfortable with like the 28-year
100%. It just never made sense because everyone was like good looking on that show, and then he was just like this weird like old troll.
You think they were all good looking? Mitchell Musso was not good looking.
Okay, Mitchell.
I blame Justin Bieber for that, because every man or boy in the early 2010s had that shit haircut, and I still see people with that shit haircut today, and I'm like, what are you doing? Thank God I always had a buzz cut, because I had a mullet when I was like 3, and I was like, never again. So always buzz cut, so I never had the Justin Bieber do. But like, I see pictures of like my cousins who do, and I'm like,
Here's something that's really dark that, again, I don't know why I'm putting this out into the world. Like, Mitchell Musso in those days was like my type.
Was Joe Jonas also your type?
Yes, of course.
Okay, but Joe Jonas is a better choice. So like, why would you succumb to like the Walmart version?
I don't know, but that hair, that long, gross hair, I know, that like stuck out the bottom of his ears, and just like when he had that spinoff, like The Two Kings or whatever. Do you remember that? He had a spinoff.
Actually, I was just thinking, I was like, did Mitchell Musso have a remix show or whatever they're called, a spin-off.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think he had a movie that he starred in, but again, flop. Emily Osment's Disney Channel rom-com was actually very good. I forget
Yeah.
what it was called, but the
Young and
plot line was
Hungry.
good, and she could carry it. Mitchell Musso couldn't.
Oh, okay. I think we're thinking of
They
something
wrote him out
else.
of the final season probably because he was trash.
Yeah, 100%. But are you talking about the Emily Osment show, Young and Hungry?
No, but I actually like that move for her. I like that she moved from Disney Channel to ABC Family. It felt right. And from what I remember, like everybody was attractive on that show too.
Yeah.
And I think that it was like a good, cute little romance. So I can vibe with it. I don't think I watched it like I think I've watched a few episodes here and there, and it was definitely a step up from like Secret Life of the American Teenager on
Yes.
ABC Family or Freeform.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I was talking about the movie where I think it's called like Dad Napped or something, and she like her dad. I don't know. Remember what happened? I just remember they're in a car and they go through foam. Yeah, Dad Napped.
Dad Napped. Okay, I've never heard
And
of
I think
this.
it starred like David Henry was in it. Oh my God,
Oh.
Jason Earls was in it too. And David Henry, so the other guy from Disney Channel, Wizard of Waverly Place. Do you want me to read the plot to you?
Yes.
Melissa Morris desperately tries to gain more attention from her preoccupied father, Neil, a best-selling author. Okay, few things here. Trying to gain attention, props to you. Neil, bad name, a fake name.
Yes.
Melissa lives in the shadow of Trip Zoom, the adventurous, clever hero from her father's popular spy novels. People read that shit. I hate fantasy books.
Me too.
For a long overdue father-daughter vacation, her father gets kidnapped by obsessive fans, Wheeze with his friend Sheldon and his brother Andre. What a group of characters, those names. The tables turn on them when she had the team find and rescue Merv from his hired goons. Wow.
Honestly, I might revisit that. I bet
Her
it's on
dad
Disney
got kidnapped.
Plus.
It made $4.5 million and it premiered in 2009.
That seems late for Emily Osment.
I think it was no, because I don't think Hannah Montana ended until like 2010 or so.
Okay.
But Jason Earls is also in this show. We have actually. I was just thinking about this when I thought about the time frame. We haven't even talked about Keke Palmer and her legendariness over on Nickelodeon and True Jackson VP. Then she went cross channel. She affiliated with Disney Channel and did Jump In, which is honestly a top 5 Disney Channel original movie for me. I love Jump In. The chemistry between Corbin Bleu and Keke Palmer is like
unparalleled.
And Keke Palmer is genuinely just a very good actress.
I'm obsessed with Keke Palmer and I'm so happy for all of her success. Like, you're totally right. True Jackson VP was like such a good TV show. Speaking of like us being teens watching these TV shows and like movies and like being obsessed, do you think that like teens nowadays are missing out on some of these like really classic TV shows? Like what would be this year's equivalent?
So I don't even know what's on Disney Channel anymore, and I should have done some research. I don't know if Liv and Maddie is there anymore. I never watched that, but I think it was like the same thing as like there's a girl and she's very girly, and there's a girl and she's very not girly.
Quirky.
And so I don't know if that's on. I've heard a lot about Bunked, but I don't really know anything about that show. I assume it's like two people like bunking together. I also don't know what's on Nickelodeon at this point, other than like bad SpongeBob remakes or new episodes of that. I don't know what they're. I feel like kids at this age, they don't even watch Disney Channel anymore. Like that's over. It's done with. They watch like grimy reality TV, Love Is Blind, or they go back like before our childhood, or at least my childhood, and they're like Friends, One Tree Hill, like those kind of like drama, like very
soap opera, teen dramas.
In The Office. Oh my God, the kids are obsessed with The Office, and I don't like The Office. I'm sorry, fans, viewers. I don't like The Office. Michael Scott is an annoying character. None of the characters are particularly likable. And yes, there are funny bits. I think their cold opens are actually pretty good. The one where they're all planking was like prime 2012. But the show in general, like, I don't really care about the characters and I don't really care about what happens to them. So I don't know why it's so big. And especially once Michael Scott leaves, the show should have ended.
Yeah, I always think, especially like with like Grey's Anatomy and stuff, it's like if the main characters leave,
I think they're like
obviously.
Grey's Anatomy too, actually.
Oh, wild. Okay, but this is the thing. None of those TV shows are like teenager shows.
I know, but just look at teenagers, like genuinely these days, like they don't want to be in that like teenage box. They kind of like push themselves out of it, which I get. I'm sure, like when I was a teenager, I kind of felt the same way, but they don't exude the same teenage energy that like millennials exuded. They're very fashionable, if not like layers of spaghetti strap things or boys with a Justin Bieber haircut.
Yeah, and this is like really what I wanted to talk about because it's like that frustrates me. Like I'm sad because I loved that phase. Like it was such good content.
Content for other people. Me, when I look back on it, and this kind of stems from a conversation that Tori and I had earlier this week, where one of our friends was like kind of feeling down, so I tried to make them happy by sharing this video of me in like 2011 when I was like crisp and like 13 or 14, and it's still on my Facebook. So if any viewer really has the time and they want to be on Facebook, I don't know what my privacy settings are, but if you scroll like literally all the way to the bottom, there's this like video of me like dancing in the car, and it is genuinely like I don't even know why I had it still up there, but it's very peak high schooler, and I don't think they have that. They have like TikTok, which they're smart enough now to like delete. When I had Facebook, it was like, oh, way to put all my pictures on the internet.
Literally, like, what's privacy? But that makes me sad that they don't have some of these things because that, I don't know, it just brings up so many good memories for me. Yeah, recording yourself doing like a dumb dance. And I see this on TikTok all the time of just like teenagers nowadays versus when I was a teenager. And like, you just look awkward and weird and like even thinking about like Pen 15, I haven't watched it. It's on my list,
I
but
thought you
like
were talking about like the actual joke we did when we were like teenagers, then 15.
no, but like I don't know. I feel bad that they don't have something super, I don't know, in the teenage zeitgeist like we've just
Well,
been
I think
talking about.
TikTok will probably be their thing. I feel like that's kind of like their bread and butter. I mean, they adopted Instagram. I'm not giving them credit for Instagram. Um, so I think TikTok is kind of like their shtick. Like they'll remember like TikTok. Like I remember having silly bands. Like I feel like kids these days would see silly bands and be like, "That's not attractive. I can't post that on my stuff." And just like even to the way they dress, like there's no like graphic tees of like their favorite boy band. Like I know a lot of them like BTS, but like when I was in high school, there were like the Believers and there were like the Directioners, and like that wasn't looked upon by a majority of people as like like subculture. I think like people who like BTS are kind of like people who like horses, where it's like
Oh my god.
very horse people.
I this is not the first time I've thought about horse girls or horse people in this podcast. Like that word has come across many, many more times. Just my final thoughts on teens nowadays are like, I feel bad that they don't have something that they can hold on to like Hannah Montana. When you're talking about people wearing like fandom shirts to school and stuff, I think nowadays when people make merch, it's like, it's of like a certain YouTuber or something, but it's not
Oh,
necessarily
YouTube
just
too, yeah.
their name. Like I feel like
It's like
when
virginity rocks,
yes,
which is
exactly. Like
uncomfortable. Like
yes. Like that's exactly what I mean. Like it's like if you didn't know that that was a merch of a specific person, like you would just think that that's somebody's t-shirt. And the one other bone I had to pick up with teenagers is they're trying to bring back like flared yoga pants. And I just can't live through that again. Like,
at least it's not gauchos.
yes, bring back a cropped gaucho. Like,
Oh, you
honestly.
want that? See, I never wore gauchos, so I guess I have literally no leg to stand on. But go off, gauchos.
I want I want them back because this just got so sloppy. We just jumped around like to like 10 different topics. But like, okay, like I'm 5'1" it's like I can't wear a flared yoga pant. I'm so short. I've said this multiple times, but my life started the day that skinny jeans came in. Like like just please, I don't know. I need to show a little bit of ankle because like I don't know. And they're calling them like flared leggings, and it's just all over the place. But their lives maybe to me just seem unfair that they just get to bypass all these awkward phases, braces, and
Yeah.
recording like the most embarrassing video ever and posting it on Facebook, or taking 1,000 pictures of like one night.
Yes. And like it's the same picture like 100 times and it's of like low quality. Or
Yeah.
everything like like playing Wii Just Dance. Like, do kids even play that anymore? Like, I have videos of me recorded playing Wii Just Dance for reasons I don't understand. Like, was I training? Like, what was I doing? Like, was I scouting myself? I was like, this is how I'm gonna hit this move in uh baila baila baila. Like I don't know
You were
what I was doing.
you were critiquing and like giving yourself feedback like you're a professional athlete after the
And
game.
no, dead ass. To this day, like if I sat down and played Just Dance, I know for a fact there's one Rihanna song I would get over 10,000 points to.
I'm
Like I had it
obsessed.
down. I still know the moves to I think like Beyonce's Crazy in Love, some of that anyway. You can't see me on video, so it's not worth doing. But just like the songs on Just Dance, every time I hear them, I'm like, oh yeah, those. Probably because I studied my tape.
Dude, that's so funny. That's still like when I whip out Hannah Montana Rockstar and I know all the words. Like it's just like, where did this
Rock
come
stuff.
from?
I'm not a huge person like of nostalgia because I feel like it kind of like sets your mind in the past, and I never want to be that like 6-year-old person who's like, I remember in my day we had blah 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 blah. That said, are you team High School Musical or team Camp Rock?
High School Musical, like no questions asked.
I feel like High School Musical has aged considerably better than Camp Rock. I feel like when you see High School Musical related things, even if it's from like the second or third movie, the worst, like most like cringe content you get is like Zac Efron's bed on it and him like slapping the water.
Yeah.
Like there's consistent footage from Camp Rock where I'm like, oh, this is cringe. And like the music is probably equally good amongst, both like parties. The acting is just significantly better in High School Musical, and the plot line of the entire series is better to the point where now, bringing back nostalgia, the way they revived High School Musical is Disney Plus's High School Musical, the musical, the series, which also has like some pretty solid music from what I've heard. Whereas like Camp
Yes.
Rock, like it should have been a one-off. Like I don't know why we brought it back a second time. And Demi Lovato seriously could only carry those Jonas Brothers as well as she could. Every time I watch that video of Allison Stoner like playing keyboard and she's like meow 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 meow, and then she like goes behind her back and she's like meow 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 meow. It's like
Yes.
cringe because then Demi Lovato is like she's like so good. It's like, girl, you were better than them from the second you walked in on this camp. The fact that they had you play like the lunch lady's daughter was an absolute jamoke.
Yeah, Camp Rock just doesn't hold up. And I think at the time when it was released, I was like, this is just as good. And this is like just as big of a production.
It kind of hit that same like that little shot that you needed. It was like a teenagers or like pre-teenagers like version of like going out for the night. When they announced Camp Rock, you're like, this is an event, and it lived up to the standards of that time. But over time, it's just gotten worse. Whereas High School Musical does have some of like the rewatchability that Camp Rock just doesn't have.
Yeah, I agree. And if anyone has not watched High School Musical, the series, I really like highly suggest it. It was really good. I think I watched
Yeah,
it
I
in
haven't
two
watched it
days.
because I'm broke and I don't have Disney Plus, but I've heard literally nothing but good things. And even the song, I think it's called like All I Want or something by
Mm-hmm.
Olivia Rodrigo came on my Spotify like earlier this week, which is why this is in my head. And I was like, that was a pretty good song for like a Disney
Totally.
Channel person. And she's like actually 17. She's not Jason Earls.
Oh my God. And that went viral on TikTok too. Like it's done really well and I cannot wait for season 2.
Oh, okay. Maybe we'll come
Yes.
back and it will be like your Emily in Paris episode, but High School Musical, the musical, the series, season
I
2.
would love that. Except for I feel like I would have way less like petty things to say about it because it was like that good. But
Oh,
I
okay.
would definitely have
Stamp
a
of
few
approval.
things. Yeah, it definitely has my stamp of approval. So the next thing we wanted to talk about was I have prepared a PowerPoint.
Oh yes.
I feel like that this is like the first like kind of actual like game I've ever played on the podcast.
We need this game show music. Ready? I'll do it. Do, 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 do. Is that a game show music? Oh,
I was expecting like a minute long like
da, 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 da. That's tequila.
I was like, that's probably copyrighted.
Yeah, you can add that in.
I have prepared a PowerPoint of 10 slang words randomly chosen out of my vocabulary. I feel like since I'm now like a working professional, I talk in slang and abbreviations way less than I used to. But I brought back some oldies but goodies, and we're just gonna get Nick's reaction.
And this stems from the discussion on Peppy Mo a few weeks ago.
Yes, because he couldn't believe that I swear to God, other people outside of myself use. If you use the word Pepimo, DM me to prove a point, please. Okay, here is the first word I have for you.
You want me to read this word?
Yes.
Okay, Randy Jackson. Is this slang for somebody other than the person Randy Jackson?
Yes. This is actually an adjective.
Is it a dance move?
No.
Put it like the Randy Jackson. Okay,
No.
I'm also having like flashbacks of Jeanette McCurdy. She had the shrine to Randy Jackson. Oh, it was the teacher in iCarly who had the shrine to Randy Jackson. Or maybe it was Frankie Jones. Randy Jackson. I have, what, it's an action?
No, it's an adjective.
So it describes something?
Yeah.
Does it mean like cool or hip?
No, definitely not. Okay.
I've never heard this.
Randy Jackson means
Was it random?
Yes.
Random?
Yes,
Random?
yes.
I don't know what Jackson means. Is it just random?
It's just random.
That's so Randy Jackson. I hate this story. This is exactly what I expected from you, and I hate it.
So, like, if I were to use it in a sentence, I would be like, yeah, it was like such a Randy Jackson group of people.
Funny as I know you're being dead ass serious. Like people
100%.
who listen to this podcast but like don't know Torry, like this is spot on for what she would do.
Yeah. And like when people, you know how people used to say, oh, we need to do that ASAP Rocky?
No.
Oh my God.
But I at least get that.
Okay, well, I swear to God, the people that started like ASAP Rocky copied Randy Jackson. I swear to God. Okay, here's number 2. This one's easier, I swear.
That's okay. Inappropriate was inappropriate. I got that one.
Yes, but it's
inappropriate. Oh, it's inappropro.
Yes, there we go.
Oh my God, that's so inappropro.
Yes.
You can use that at work. Okay, when you have a meeting. You had inappropro behavior.
Yeah, you'll really relate to your students using that one.
They probably look at me like I had 4 heads and then just leave.
Yeah. The next one is...
Oh, bevy. I've heard you use this word. This is beverage, which I was not drinking on the podcast.
Yes, specifically an alcoholic beverage.
This is actually cringe. Does Canada have Cumberland Farms gas stations?
No.
Okay, so America does. And a lot of people call them cumbies, and I just hate it because I don't like the emphasis on the word cumbies. I don't like it.
Well, this one is a good one to use, I feel like, but you can't refer to non-alcoholic. Like it's.
I feel like this is what you would use if you were in a bar and you wanted like a guy to get off your back. You're like, I'm just gonna grab me a bevy.
Bevy.
It's very Alexis from Schitt's Creek, actually.
I love that, and I kind of feel like it's Australian slang, possibly.
Okay, we love that.
Any Australians out there, like, let me know if you use this hot term. The next one we have is...
Shaker. Is this also for alcohol? Like an alcoholic shaker? Is this like when you gotta like shake and bake? Like we gotta move? Or is this like when you gotta shake your butt?
No, it is a noun.
meaning that it's a thing,
Yes.
or a person or a place. It's a thing. Like, is it like a salt shaker?
Yes, this is a word that I haven't used since high school, but I'm going to make it cool again.
Who's in the sentence for me?
I think this week Nick is throwing a big shaker.
Oh, it is not being party. Did this mean
Yes.
party?
Yes.
Sorry, this is like try hard behavior. It's almost like when people use like, oh, I'm gonna have a mixer. I hated when people in college are like, time for a mixer. I'm like, no, it's you and a bunch of girls on the field hockey team meeting up with a bunch of the track boys. That's a mixer. That's an uncomfortable dance where you hang out with your friends and they hang out with their friends, and the two drunkest people hook up.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is.
I actually like this one. I
Okay,
hate it, but I
good.
like it. It's better than mixer, so I approve of its choice of language. I don't like that it means party.
Well, it does. And make it cool again, please. This word.
Okay, so this is nonchalant, which I'm assuming means like nonchalant.
Yes. Okay, you got that right off the
Very
bat.
European of you. I like this
Oh,
one.
okay,
It's so
good.
nonchalant.
Yes. Okay, I feel like it's like fancy.
Yeah, I just like using it. It's like, look, I'm better than you, and I'm using it.
Yes, yes. And that's
It
what
has like
we're
the
here
perfect like
for.
air of arrogance.
Yes. And that's how I like to talk.
It's like a name like Genevieve.
Yes. And like I feel like it reminds me of like a ski chalet.
Yes, that I love it. I'm team nonchalant.
Okay, good. Good, good.
Relash. Is that like when you're rehashing like old times? Is that what we've been
No.
doing? Have we been relashing? Yes?
No, that's wrong.
Okay, is it relash like when like you go back to like bad behavior, like you text that guy back that you shouldn't be?
No. I'm
Oh, I thought that
nodding
was
because those are good guesses, but no, it's actually pronounced relation.
oh, relationship. Well,
Yes.
I'm in a relation with that person, but we don't talk anymore. That's like when Miley talks about Nick Jonas.
Yes. Team Niley forever. The next one is this one.
Hein Daddy. All I can think of is like what I'm thinking of is like, you know what a tall boy is?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm thinking of like the alcoholic, like tall boys, but you're like, I'm gonna go get me a Hein Daddy.
Oh my God, that's so, yeah, like the beer company.
Heineken? Is it like Heineken?
No, it
Oh.
actually is Hain Daddy.
Hein Daddy?
And it means heinous.
Oh my god, I wouldn't have went there even after you told me how to pronounce it. I was like, she's not talking about what I think she's talking about now, is she? Okay, heinous. That's Hain Daddy. I don't
Yes!
Nope. I don't approve of the word daddy like at all. Like if like dad does not want to go by dad, they better go by like pops or papa. Like daddy is not okay.
I've been saying this since I was like 14.
Hain Daddy. Nope.
That's Hain Daddy.
Bring back nonchalant.
Okay, the next one, final one.
Oh yes, this is a Torry staple, Avi Dog Kit Kat bar, which is completely like unnecessary to have the dog Kit Kat bar because it's like obvious. But the way Torry will say it is like Avi Dog Kit Kat bar, and you're like, yes.
Why do I say this? I'm actually like embarrassed.
It's terrible. It is embarrassing. You probably should be embarrassed, but it's such a staple of who you are at this point that you need to keep it forever. Like your grandchildren need to know Avi Dog Kit Kat bar. And then you can give them a Kit Kat bar. That can be your thing. My grandma's thing was peppermint patties, so your thing can be Kit Kat bars.
I'm honestly into that. I love Kit Kat bars.
You have a grandma shtick.
Yeah.
Now we just gotta get to that point if we want to.
Okay, next one.
Oh, ridiculous. And I think of Harry Potter. Ridiculous.
Yes. Okay, this one obviously is pretty obvious, but I love saying it because
it's pretty Avi Dog Kit Kat bar.
It's pretty Avi Dog Kit Kat bar, but you can say you're ridic, and people then. So I say this all the time. So like something will happen. I'll be like, you're ridic. And then they'll leave and they'll wonder, did she say you're a dick? Like you are a dick? Or did she say
obviously the
you're
hidden
ridiculous?
Using it, but then you fall back on, no, ridiculous. That's like slang.
I just said like you're ridic. Like, yeah, obs. Avi Dog
Kit Kat bar.
Last one.
Winty B. Is it like winter? Just with like a fancy B at the end?
It's related to winter.
Okay, is it like a winter's breeze? Or like
No.
winter breath? Is it like you have nice breath?
No.
Windy bee. Um Blizzard? Does Vancouver have blizzards?
Not where I live,
Okay.
but in Canada, obviously.
I have no fucking clue what windy bee means.
It's winter break.
Oh, I'm going on windy bee. Nope. Not making my vocabulary.
What? That's like the best one, especially if you're a teacher because you have Winty B every year.
But I don't like windy bee.
I will have to say, I will give a shout out to my friend Taylor Ann, who I think first coined the term Winty B, but I have since adopted it.
Yes, windy bee.
Winty B. That was really fun. My first
That was a
RTBP
blast. That was actually
game.
much more enjoyable, and I still judge some of those word choices.
If anybody likes like game segments, let me know. So we're going to do a really quick This Week in Petty, and then we're going to wrap up. Nick, do you have a This Week in Petty that you'd like to share?
Okay, so I do. I'm like very kind of on edge about sharing this because this is like a 2 year long petty thing that I have personally been doing, and I brought it back again this week. So this podcast is a circle of secrecy. If the person that I know that I've been doing this pity act to listens to it, then you know what, you got me. You've ruined your wedding gift, but you got me. So about 2 years ago, I think it was my last fall 2018. I lived in college, obviously, and I had an apartment with me and three roommates, and one of those roommates was my cousin. So we kind of had like different like jobs for like the apartment. My job regarded nothing about doing dishes or like any of the hard labor work. My job was getting the mail.
Nice.
So because nobody else in my apartment would go with the mail, and I was always like expecting to get the like golden ticket or whatever. So I'd always go and get the mail and bring it back to the table and put it on the table, the island in like our kitchen area, which everybody shared. And one day in like early fall of 2018, I went and got the mail and I put it on the counter. Thought nothing of it. I came back that night from like a 3 hour week long seminar class to my one of my roommates, my cousin, going like batshit about the idea that somebody had put a key on his keychain that he did not recognize. And I was like, okay, and like what about it? And he was like,
Yeah.
did you do it? I was like, I haven't been here like all afternoon. Like, why would I have done this? So he like brought his girlfriend over and they're still together at this time. And he accused her of doing it to him. And she was like, dude, like I didn't do it. So like to this day, I'm convinced it was like one of my other roommates. But my cousin like literally lost his mind over this. So he went to class the next day and asked one of his friends who he was in class with. He was like, "Hey, did you put this key on my keychain like when I went to the bathroom during class?" And he showed him the key. And his roommate was like, "No, I didn't do that, but I got a key in the mail that looked just like that." So suddenly I became like, big question mark number one. Like I was suspect number one. Like I needed to get a lawyer. The jury was coming in. I was being accused because I was the mail getter. And I was like, dude, like I did not put this fucking key on your keychain. Like, what would I have gotten out of this? Like, whoever did this, A, was trying to fuck with you, but B, it shouldn't have worked because if you see a key on your keychain that you don't know, who cares? Get rid of it. Like, I wouldn't have thought more
Yeah.
than like 2 minutes about it. And he lost his mind over it for like an entire weekend. And he's trying to figure out who it is, and nobody at our apartment is like owning up. He's exhausted his resources of his girlfriend and his girlfriend's roommate. So 2 weeks later, after I thought that this had blown over, I went and got the mail again and I brought it back to the kitchen table. And they're like, Nick, we just think it's funny that you're the one who always goes and gets the mail. And suddenly he has a key on his keychain that came from the mail. So I was like, wait a minute now. Is it because I get all the mail that I'm being accused? So I straight up said, I'm never getting the mail again. So I relieved myself of the one chore that I had as like, the
Nice.
apartment.
Classic.
um, and it was like, I'm not getting the mail ever again. And obviously I was like, shit, I need to go get the mail because I need to get my mail. So I just never got anybody else's when I would go. I would just get mine. And dead ass, my three roommates' mail stayed in our mailbox for like 4 months until somebody else went and got it. And they had like built
Why?
up. So because I was pissed that I was getting accused of this mail, he had brought it up one other time between that time span. And I was like, look, if you accuse me of doing this like one more time, like I'm going to lose my fucking mind. And then he had the nerve to bring it up at like our family Christmas party. So I was like, You know what? You know what? You're gonna fucking suffer from keys for the rest of your damn life and not know where they came from. So since like January of 2019, I have gotten close to 20 different people to mail him keys to different addresses. I got it mailed to his parents' house. I got it mailed to his first apartment. I got it mailed to his new house, which is when the new one came this week. I have had them sent from all over the United States, different parts of Canada, with no backtrack address and nothing connecting it to me other than this damn podcast. So he recently got one earlier this week, and every time the person writes it, they spell his name differently. It comes from a different location, a different state, and no information about like obviously who I am, with the world's like creepiest cards. So like this last one sent him a card that was just like, just thinking of you, because he hasn't gotten a key in like 6 or so months. He's got one on his birthday. He's got ones for Halloween. He's got one for Valentine's Day. He's in just like general like thinking of you. There is never a message left inside the card other than just like a key that nobody is using. Only before this podcast, only 3 people in the world actually like knew about this, because I've used the same 2 people to mail these keys every time they travel, which is why it had been slowed down a little bit during the pandemic, because people weren't traveling. But it's actually baller because he moved recently, and Nick Drinkwater does not know his new address. But I found out his new address and gave it to other people. So he can't even connect me to the last key that he got because he never told me his new address.
Oh my God. I'm speechless.
And I plan to continue this. And like I think like he thinks that it's me, because he knows like I'm a little bit petty, but he will never 100% know because I will never tell him. So this is going to eat away at him. So like when he got the last key, he sent it in like our college person like group chat, and he was like, I got another one with a creepy card. And his girlfriend texted me and she was like, I don't know how you're doing this, but like this is hysterical. And I was like, I'm not doing it. Like I'm not doing it. Like I've never mailed him a key. Like it's not me, which isn't a lie. And this will continue, I think, genuinely probably until like his wedding day, when like I leave a key in like his wedding gift.
Oh my God. So this all started because someone,
Because I was accused of something for simply getting the mail.
your task as a roommate. This is wild. I'm speechless because I would be so creeped out. You're gonna drive this poor person insane.
One of the people that's sending these cards like knows him, and a named person is like, I can't even like have a conversation with him or look in his face because he doesn't know what I'm doing to him.
You've like this is the pettiest thing that I think has ever been shared on this podcast. You've like ruined other people's relationships with him because you were falsely accused of something. I am weirded out though, like who did put the original key on his keychain?
At this point, so we had 2 roommates, or me, him, and then 2 other roommates, and I'm like 99% convinced that it's one of my other roommates, because he always would get mad at this roommate for leaving his keys on the island, and he'd always just get mad that he'd leave his shit there because it was like our shared space and not bring it to his room at like the end of the hall. So I think honestly he saw like a stack of mail, which I genuinely don't ever remember bringing in like a fake key to, and then I think he just saw it and just like it did it just to like fuck with him basically. I don't think he thought it was gonna have like this reaction, and it did have this reaction. So never left his keys on the island anymore. So it did work, if that's what my roommate's goal was. And initially he had accused that roommate, and so my roommate lied and said he threw the key out of the window, and then the key randomly emerged on like this third roommate's like keychain, which he had obviously put there, has owned up to the fact that he put it there.
Right.
But it's because initially we thought it was that roommate. So I think that it was him, but nobody has ever owned up to this key being on the keychain, and now they never will, because like I've been fucking with them by mailing the keys, but I wasn't the original starter of this shit. So whoever did start this shit, if they're like within our group, is probably like freaked the fuck out.
Literally. Oh my God, you should take over hosting this podcast because I think you take the crown for pettiest person. That is
Am I
so
Pettyweight
wild.
champion?
Honestly, of the week, of the year, of the decade. Holy shit, that is so wild. That's like a TV show. What do you think the chances are that he finds out because of this podcast?
I'm actually kind of nervous because I do plan on posting this like on my podcast to support the pod as like I should, because I genuinely like the podcast now, and I'm also a little bit narcissistic. I'll post when I should. And I think there's a chance, like there's not a 0% chance that they listen to this. I think it's higher than that. And the other thing is like if some other people like in our circle think it's funny and they want to like expose me as like using blackmail, I could see them doing it as well.
Wild.
So like I am a bit nervous that it's all gonna blow up on me. And that's why I was like really on edge. Like, do I share this? Like, is it worth it for like the pettiness of this
Some good
podcast? Like,
content.
this should be a petty, safe space.
Yes, I agree.
And honestly, I might just like cop out and not share it on my story, and then they won't ever find out unless one of the listeners here goes and leaks.
Yeah, listeners, we're putting some trust in you.
We really are. And we can take this a step further. Like if you are really about the bit here and want to like commit to this because you have some fake keys lying around your house, like we can organize something.
I was just gonna say the listeners aren't just gonna swear to secrecy, they're gonna DM you to join in.
And I'm okay with that as long as you pick a creepy card and you don't write anything in it. Nice. And we have to spread them out. I can't have like, it can't be like Harry Potter where he gets 40 keys in one day because he might actually lose it. And I don't want to drive him like fully insane. I just want it to like always be at the back of his mind.
Isn't that, I know, that's what I was going to say. Isn't that worse? Like getting them so sporadically?
Yeah. So like sometimes they'll be sent like within a week of each other. Sometimes they'll be sent over like, again, I think this last one, it had been like 6 or 7 months.
Right. Wild. Well, thanks so much for sharing, and thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Yes, I like I said, I'm so glad to be here every time. It's like a highlight of my week. So maybe we'll wait a few more months and I'll rejoin. Maybe we'll have some updates on the key story.
Please. And maybe you can, share some updates like in our listener Facebook group.
Oh, God. All right, maybe. I wouldn't be opposed.
Okay, I love it. Where can people find you, Nick, if they want to hear more from you?
Okay, so on Instagram, you can find me at drinky_11. I haven't used Instagram in over 2 years because I'm petty against Instagram because they took down one of my posts and now it just like ruined the aesthetics of my page because it's just a gray box. So I refuse to post again on Instagram. But I do post stories from time to time. And on Twitter, which is like the number one thing that I use, it's at Nick_drinkwater. And you can definitely follow that one. I might annoy you with some of like the sports stuff I tweet, but I do think my content of my original tweets are pretty solid.
Yes, I can corroborate that. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for listeners for being the trusting listeners that you will be. And I can't wait to listen to this and then the many more that come after this because I really am such a fan of the podcast now.
Thank you so much, Nick. Thanks so much for listening, and thank you, Nick, for being on the podcast. Your secret is safe with us, we promise. If you like what you hear, you can follow along on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at RTBP Podcast and join our listener Facebook group, Ready to Be Petty Podcast Group. I hope you are safe and well out there. As always, I'm your host, Torry, and I am ready to be petty. See you soon. Bye.